Hey guys, this is Gopi back with another video. In this video, we are going to discuss about arrays. So in the last video, we were discussed deeply about the variables, data types and those stuff. Let's continue the series with array now. What is array? Arrays are nothing but collection of a similar data type element. Let's say if you are creating an array of integer, then obviously that array could contains only integer data. What could be the size? How it stores in a memory? That's what we are going to discuss. First, let's see how we can declare a simple array. To declare any simple array, we just wanted to use data type as like any other variable data type, and then you have to use a square bracket. This square bracket tells it's an array. I just name it as integer array. You can use any name, shouldn't be an issue. I'm just using integer array equal to new int array of. Okay, this is how we will be usually declaring an integer array. In this square bracket, we have to tell what is the size of array that you are creating. So now we need to understand that integer is a data type, as we all know that. I am declaring a variable. This variable going to contain collection of similar data type element. So this array could hold only 5 data of integer. Why we need array? We can even store that value in the variable. Then what is the purpose of having array in our language? Consider you are working on a student based application. So in that you have to store students mark. We all know that for each and every semester we'll be having almost 5 to 9 subjects. I cannot create, of course you can create, but that's not a good practice. I cannot create each and every variable for every mark that I could get. So how can I overcome that? You can go for arrays. So in that array, I can just say my array size is 9 so that I can store all the values into that. That is the purpose, because if array is not there, we have to create each and every variable. So we are actually reducing it. So code is getting reduced. Also, it is quite easy to manipulate the data. So as of now, we haven't entered any data into this variable. We just declared an array which is having 5 size. The size is fixed. Once the array is created, you could not able to modify that. Also keep in mind, whenever you have an array, the array stores the data sequentially so that accessing array element is so easy. So these are all the advantages that we have. Then what is the disadvantage? It's a fixed size. There are actually 3 different types of arrays. One is a single dimensional array, multiple dimensional array and jagged array. This is single dimensional array. What is the single dimension? It's just going to contain data only in the x-axis. You can just think in that way. We will be discussing about multi-dimensional array as well as jagged array one by one. This integer array could contain 5 different values. Let's see how I could enter some data. Int array square bracket 0. So keep in mind, whenever you have any array, you can access that array element using its index. Index is nothing but position. Array index always starts with 0. So here I am mentioning this array could hold maximum of 5 record. Now integer array of 0. In this array, at 0th position, I am asking it to enter 1. So likewise, so let me change respectively. And then I will be using for loop. Haven't discussed anything about for loop. We will discuss that. As of now, just to follow the syntax that I am writing. For is a loop. Using this for loop, I can access each and every element from the single dimensional array. Integer I equal to 0. This I is a loop variable. I am declaring the variable I, which is of type integer, and default value is 0. And then I value should be lesser than integer array dot length. What is this? This is the condition. This loop runs until the condition fails. What is the condition? I value should always lesser than your array's length. What is the length of the array? There are 5 different elements. So length of the array is 5. And then I am incrementing. I plus plus. I plus plus is equal to I equal to I plus 1. This is the shorthand version. I plus plus is the shorthand version. I'm just incrementing I value by 1 and again store the new value back into the variable I itself. Hope this is clear. We saw the for loop. Now I'm going to print by using console.writeLine. I'm going to print every element from that array. So what is array? Integer array. I just mentioned you can access every array element using its index. So index is nothing but position. So whenever you are about to use index, then you have to mention that index within a square bracket. So I have opened the square bracket. Now within the square bracket, I need to mention I, because here I is a loop variable which actually represents the index of an element in the array. How? Because I am starting from 0. I value is actually initialized to 0, which is starting index of an array. It will go till the length of an array. What could be the length? 5 is the length. So it goes till 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When it comes to 5, obviously the condition fails and the loop stops its work. So we are done with the simple implementation for single dimensional array and printing it. Let me run the code. You don't have to specifically mention build. When you click on run button, it will automatically build and then starts execution. Here you can see I got the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is your array element, and keep in mind we are still getting welcome because I haven't removed this console.writeLine. That's why I'm getting the console output. So we don't need that now. This is one way of assigning value to the variable. When you know actual size of the element that you are going to store. If suppose you don't know the exact size of the data you are going to store, you don't have to declare this. You can just delete, open, you can assign data. Something like this. This is also valid one. This syntax could get followed when you don't know what is the size of data you are storing in the variable. This is fine. If I click on run, it will just print the same output without any change. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and then the welcome. This is how you can work with it. Now we understood how to create a single dimensional array, how to assign value to that array, and then how to print it. Another syntax for creating array is new integer square bracket and then this element. Okay, this is also a valid syntax. Here we haven't passed the size of your array, but based on the data you are passing, the size is dynamically assigned. Now, so far we discussed everything with integer. The same is applicable to all other type of arrays. This is just the basic, and you can implement the same kind of logic to all other data types you have. So we are done with the single dimensional array example. Let's go to the multi-dimensional array. As of now, let me just comment it out. So I commented single dimensional array code example. Now we are going to create multi-dimensional array. What is multi-dimensional array? Multi-dimensional array could store data in x and y axis. So don't get confused. If you know what is matrix, then that's nothing but multi-dimensional array. This is how multi-dimensional array looks like in a high level. 3 space 4. So here you can see 1 and 2 are at one line, 3 and 4 are the second line. This we consider as a multi-dimensional array of size 2 cross 2, which is nothing but 2 rows and 2 columns. Now let's see how we can create a multi-dimensional integer array programmatically here. So declare any variable, array, you have to use integer, and then I say multi array equal to new integer. This is how we will be declaring single dimensional array. Now we are going to convert the single dimensional array into multi-dimension by introducing comma in between the square bracket. This comma tells what is the size of your array. So now I have included only one comma. We have to mention the size here. As of now, I just leave it. This comma tells what is the dimension. So here you can see that I have one comma which actually separate the square bracket into two different parts, which indirectly tells it is a two-dimensional array. If I introduced one more comma, this tells it is a three-dimensional array. Likewise, we will be using it. We are not going to work with the three-dimensional array. We will be discussing only with the two-dimensional array. Let me set the size as 2 cross 2. How will I able to pass data to this 2 cross 2 multi-array? That's where we have multi-array square bracket, and here you have to mention which row and which column. So first I am going to say 0th row comma 0th column should contain a value of 1. The same is applicable to another data. Now first row, first column, first row, 0th row, first column, and again let me introduce one more data which is nothing but first row, 0th column, and then first row, first column. Let me change the value, and we have created multi-dimensional array. What dimension is the data is 2 dimension, because the array is separated into 2 different parts. Okay. Previously we discussed about single dimensional array. We come to know how to edit or how to print that. That's quite easy. It's just the for loop, we just printed it. How will I able to access this multi-dimension array? That is where we have another concept called nested loop. Loop inside another loop. Let me create one for loop. This for loop going to have a loop variable of I, which going to execute the size of size of the array. So what is the size? The size is actually 2, because I know the structure of your array. So let me change this to 2. The same is applicable inside. So here same variable declaration, I could use another variable. So I'm starting with 0, and then j value should lesser than 2, and then j value should increment, and then I have to print console.writeLine of your data. Which one have the data? My array, multi array. I already explained, whenever you wanted to access any array element, you can access only by using its index. Let me have a square bracket. Within this square bracket, I am going to have index. Where I have the index? Previously, mine is single dimension, so I can use only the ith loop variable. Now, I am having a multiple elements. I am having 2-dimensional array. In that case, you have to pass both I comma j. This clearly tells I am accessing ith row, jth column. Let me save it and then execute the program. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, welcome. So obviously you can just avoid this welcome, but still 1, 2, 3, 4 is the right data. You can just think 1 is at a 0, 0th position, which is nothing but 0th row, 0th column. And then I have 2, which is nothing but 0th row, first column. First row, 0th column, first row, first column. That's how the elements are printed. Now we know how to use a single dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. We have another shorthand. You can just delete this. We don't have to declare something like that. Here itself you can use a curly braces and then pass. Here also this is, you can remove first array 1, 2, second array 3, 4. Likewise, I can declare the multi-dimensional array. So same syntax, you can use it. Shouldn't be an issue. Now let's proceed further and study about jagged array. We understood what is single dimensional array and what is multi-dimensional array. What is the need of jagged array? It is, by the way, jagged array is the last type in the array. It can store array in different structure. So let's do that. Let me first of all create a jagged array. Let me command this line. You can command by using this icon, or else you can use Ctrl K and then C. To uncommand, Ctrl K and then D. Let me create a jagged array. Integer, again taking an example of integer array, square bracket, we know this is how we will be declaring array. This is jagged array. Different row size and different column size. Let me have one more. This is nothing but jagged array. So let me have array AR equal to new array. This should be integer. Here you have to pass. Let me say I am going to have a 2 different row. Of course you can use this syntax which we used here to populate, or else you can just follow the structure. Now we know how to create jagged array. We are going to learn how to insert data. Because this array syntax is a little different, we must understand how we can store data in this variable. You can either use AR of 0. I am inserting an array in the position 0th index. So how would I able to do that? You can use this syntax, I'm creating a new integer array which hold the data of 1, 2, 3. So even you can just leave it as 4, shouldn't be an issue. Now this is done. Let me create one more, because this array can hold 2 different rows. So array of 1, new array, let me give 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. Likewise, I can insert data into the array. Now how this is understandable? This is little confusing, right? We can just think jagged array is an array inside another array. You can just think that I have an array here. This is single dimensional array example. In this 0th index, I have 1. What I'm doing with jagged array is, the jagged array initialization clearly tells that I'm going to have a 2 different row. So the first row is an array, second row is also another array. AR of 0, at the ith index, I am going to insert a new array which contains element 1, 2, 3, 4. On the first index, I am going to insert another array which contains 5, 6, 7 data. Now this is how your element should get added into the jagged array. Now we know how to create jagged array and how to insert data into jagged array. Let's try to print that in the output screen using for loop. Same for loop syntax, just type for and then double tab. It just brings you the syntax of the for loop. I'm going to use ar.length. L should be caps. Within this, I'm going to create one more array. Let me call it as for. So let me change the I to j. This is done. What is the length? How many times the inner for loop should work? Inner for loop should execute array of ith index dot length. What it means? The outer array execute this and then this. What inner array does? Inner array execute this element and then this element. You can clearly mention that, you can clearly see it here. I am executing ith variable or else the ith for loop for number of record I have. So I am going to have 2 different value in the array AR. First value is at 0th index, second value is at first index. What does I have in the 0th index? That is 1, 2, 3, 4. What does I have in the second index? 5, 6, 7. Let me execute this code. I think I haven't provided console.writeLine. Give me a minute. Let me fix that up. My array AR is the array. So I can use I and then j. So this is how jagged array could get accessed. Let me print. You can see I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is printing. This is how you have to create, and this is how you have to work with arrays in C#. We have discussed single dimensional array, multi-dimensional array, and then the jagged array. Single dimensional array example is this. Multi-dimensional array example is this. Jagged array example is this. Jagged array is also called as array of arrays. Keep in mind always. So with this, we have come to the end of this video.